Obtaining residency in Mexico through economic solvency is an attractive option for many people who want to enjoy the benefits of living in one of the world's most culturally rich. But what exactly does the process involve, and how can you ensure you meet the financial requirements to make this a reality? In this video, we'll dive into all the details step by step, answering the most frequently asked questions about applying for Mexican residency using your income or savings. This process, known as economic solvency, involves proving that you have sufficient financial means to support yourself while living in Mexico. It's not as complicated as it may seem, but there are specific guidelines you'll need to follow. First, it's important to note that most residency applications must begin at a Mexican consulate abroad, unless you qualify for one of the few exceptions, such as the family unit application, which allows you to apply from within Mexico. So, if you're planning to use your income or savings to qualify, your first step will be making an appointment with a Mexican consulate. Now you might be wondering, how do I qualify? Do the accounts need to be in my name? The answer is yes. Whether you're using income, savings, or investments, all the account statements you present must be in the name of the applicant. This is crucial. If you're applying with property value, the title deed must also be in the applicant's name. When it comes to the actual financial requirements, there are two main categories: temporary residency, known as Residence Temporal or RT, and permanent residency, called Residence Permanente or RP. Each has its own financial thresholds. Temporary residency carries a lower threshold of income or savings/investments to qualify. It's ideal for people who plan to stay in Mexico for a limited time but might not be ready to commit to permanent residency. Permanent residency requires higher financial proof, and in many cases, applicants must be retired to apply, even if they meet the financial criteria. So what about mixing income and savings? Can you combine the two to qualify? Unfortunately, the answer is no. You must demonstrate either consistent monthly income for the 6 months leading up to your application, some consulates require 12 months, or prove that you have a minimum savings or investment balance for the full 12 months prior to your application. You can't mix the two. Another common question is whether spouses can combine their incomes to qualify for residency. The answer here is also no. The principal applicant needs to show sufficient income in their own name. The amounts required are per person, but spouses, common law partners, and minor children under 18 can apply as dependents by adding 100 times the daily minimum wage to the total needed for each dependent. For example, if you are applying as a couple with one dependent minor child, the principal applicant needs to meet the economic solvency criteria, plus an additional amount of approximately $2,200 in monthly income or total savings investment balances to cover the dependents. If you're applying as a couple, Mexican immigration law recognizes legally married couples, common law partners, and same-sex couples. If you're legally married, you'll need to provide your marriage certificate, which must be apostilled if it wasn't issued in the country where you're applying. If you're not legally married, the consulate's requirements for proof of your partnership may vary, so it's essential to check with the specific consulate where you're applying to know what documentation will be required. Speaking of couples, you might be wondering if you can show an account in joint names if only one spouse is applying for residency. The answer is yes, but with a catch. If only one spouse is applying, the account must show double the usual economic solvency requirements, or 100 additional days of minimum wage to qualify. However, if both of you apply together using a joint account, you only need to show the economic solvency for one person plus a lower amount for the dependent spouse. Now let's talk about documentation. Many people ask if they need to show full account statements or just the summary balances. While requirements vary by consulate, it's generally a good idea to be prepared to show the complete detailed account statements for the entire period required, either 6 or 12 months leading up to the application date. Most consulates and immigration offices in Mexico won't accept abridged accounts, so to avoid rejection, provide the full details. When it comes to submitting these documents, Mexican consulates typically ask to see original documents from your bank or investment firm. Internet printouts are usually accepted if they are stamped by a bank branch or accompanied by a letter from the bank confirming your account details. Some consulates may also ask for a letter confirming that you are the sole account holder if you're applying as a couple and the account isn't in joint names. Another important aspect is where your accounts are based. If your accounts are in a different country from where you're applying, you will need to have the account statements notarized and apostilled. For instance, If you're applying at a Mexican consulate in France, but your accounts are in the US, you'll need to have these documents prepared accordingly. And if you're applying in Mexico, the documents must be translated into Spanish by a certified translator. You may also be wondering if you need to show economic solvency when renewing your temporary residency. Under the current rules, you generally don't need to re-provide proof of economic solvency when renewing, unless you are applying based on a local job offer. In that case, you'll need to show a letter from your employer confirming your employment status and remuneration. So, how much income do you actually need to qualify? For temporary and permanent residency, you must meet specific income levels, consistently proving a net income that meets or exceeds the threshold for at least the 6 months prior to your application. Some consulates ask for 12 months of proof. Keep in mind that this threshold must be met consistently each month without falling below it, or your application could be rejected. If you're using savings or investments to qualify instead of income, the process is a bit different. You'll need to show a consistent balance for 12 months, and you can use multiple accounts, including savings, 401k balances, and investment funds to reach the required amount. However, like with income, cryptocurrency accounts do not count toward your solvency. In summary, while the process of obtaining residency in Mexico via economic solvency may seem complex, it's definitely manageable with the right preparation. Be sure to check the most up-to-date requirements with your consulate, gather your documents, and ensure that everything is in order before you apply. If you need assistance navigating the process, our Mexico Immigration Assistance Service is here to help. We offer consulting, advice, and support for everything from your initial application to renewals and visa exchanges. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more valuable insights into global mobility, investment strategies, and immigration processes. With the right approach, your dream of living in Mexico could be closer than you think.